Is concerning having a picture of yourself behind you. For the speakers that are coming up behind me, you will have your picture up there too. However, if my husband doesn't stand up right now and get a picture of me with a picture behind for my children, I don't know, he's totally letting me down. Right? Man on a mission, man on a mission. Thank you, John. Okay, hello. I hope you're all having a good time. I obviously am. You can tell, right? I'm having a good time. Again, I'm Irene Tynes. I'm the current president for the League of Women Voters for the state of Colorado, for the board. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I have this privilege for the next 12 days. And Miss Mary Parker, if you would please stand up. This is our incoming president, Mary Parker. Okay.
Bienvenidos, les saluda Rafael Contreras este pasado 8 de junio. Miles de boletas electorales.
My last speech as your president. After 4 years you've been putting up with me, and I'm looking at the board. Right? I see you all back there. They're thinking 4 years. I've been thinking a lot about everything that we've pulled off together. More than anything, I've been thinking about the people who made it happen, and that's all of you. The last few years have been really testing us. The fast-paced, the constant threats to voting rights, the hits to government transparency, it has all felt relentless. But through it all, our members and donors didn't back down. You met every single challenge with pure resolve. Let's talk about what we actually look like on the ground. Our Legislative Action Committee, over 40 trained volunteer lobbyists, tracked 157 bills at the state capitol. Imagine that. They were tracking 157 bills. Can't believe it. They testified, wrote amendments, made countless phone calls, drove to Denver early on weekday mornings, which is not easy anymore. Boy, traffic, construction, but yet they had the resolve to show up. And they knew it because it mattered. It mattered to them, it mattered to us, and boy, did it matter. By the time the session wrapped up, 84% of the bills we touched aligned with our positions. "90 of the 109 bills were supported, were signed into law." All right. You know, they say at the Capitol, they say, "Ooh, here comes the League of Women Voters. We better start paying attention," right? We better watch out, you know. Do we have time? We better make time because the League's going to make sure that we do make time. On top of that, 20 of the 22 bills we opposed were completely defeated. That is what our advocacy looks like. This year, we've been fierce when it comes to keeping government transparent. When the state legislature decided to exempt itself from open meeting laws, we didn't just complain. We teamed up with others to form Team Transparency. Now, this coalition is pushing for citizen initiative called the People's Right to Know, which would lock public access to government records right into the Colorado Constitution, okay? Be paying attention. It's the people's right to know. We filed 2 lawsuits this year, one against U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services for banning volunteers from registering voters at naturalization ceremonies. I know, come on. What? How long have we been doing this? How many naturalization ceremonies? All leaguers here. Who has been to a naturalization ceremony? 2 registered voters. When I was in Houston, I registered 1,000 voters at naturalization ceremonies. It was something else. And they just, let's just stop doing that. We don't need to be doing that. And won another lawsuit against the state for unconstitutional laws around vacancy elections. And we all know about that, right? This room is all really well educated. We all know what vacancy elections are, right? Both are pending, and Beth assures me, right, Beth, that we will be on the right side and will prevail. Okay, all the while, where's our voter services group? We produced nonpartisan election and ballot guides that served about 25% of Colorado voters, right? That's a big one. That's an interesting one, too, because our voter services a few years ago aligned themselves with the Legislative Action Committee. They figured out, wow, if we work together, boy, we're going to get all kinds of information from legislative action. There they go. See, look, they're high-fiving in the back. They're sitting next to each other. They're doing this. But you know what? It just seemed like the right thing to do. Let's figure out really what we're educating these voters for. When you hear about all these massive wins and impacts, it sounds like we have a huge, heavily funded machine running things behind the scenes. Okay, huge. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. But the reality is way cooler. Almost all of our programmatic work is done by volunteers. In the last year alone, you all put in about 34,000 hours. I know, right? To put that in perspective, that's like having nearly 16.5 full-time employees. It's an in-kind donation. You ready for this? Beth did the math on this. I guess Beth has to track all this stuff because every grant we write, right? It's all something to us. It's an in-kind donation worth a massive $1,228,760. That's you all, right? Think about those numbers for a second. For our 2026 fiscal year, our actual cash expense budget was just $450,000. But when you add that $1 million volunteer power, our true operational footprint is about $1.7 million. Look around the room. We are the $1.7 million organization running on less than $500,000 a year. We punch so far above our weight because of your passion, your time, your heart, and we are incredibly grateful. Thank you. None of this has happened by accident. It happened because you refused to stay quiet and you showed up. As I step down, I am so thankful for your trust and your hard, uphill work for our democracy. Presidents change, but our mission stays the same. And because of you, the League of Women Voters of Colorado is stronger than ever. Thank you so much. Could I get a glass of water? Thank you. What a gentleman. Thank you very much. Okay. The next line says, hey, let's get started with the program. I thought we just did, didn't we? I don't know, but let's get started. And the way we start, we want to talk about our sponsors. Our presenting sponsor for the second year in a row is Thierry O'Leary Foundation, led by the longtime civic and business leader Kent Thierry and his wife Denise O'Leary. This partnership and friendship with the Thierry O'Leary Foundation means everything to us. They have been really quite helpful partners, not just in financial, but our public relations, getting the word out, who we are. They really understand the value and importance of the League's statewide network, and we share a lot of the same values. I'm pleased to introduce the Foundation's Chief of Staff, Jason Bertolacci. Jason. Okay, there's steps on the other side if you'd like. There you go, sir.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? If you would indulge me, everybody please stand and give a standing round of applause for Irene and her service. So as I was looking for a notebook to write down my notes for this evening, all I could find was my 6-year-old's doodle notebook. So I hope that I don't get distracted by some of these kind of fierce dragons that are throughout this notebook here. So, but I'm Jason Bertolacci, and I'm Chief of Staff at the Thierry O'Leary Foundation. And if you'll indulge me for a second to honor the family that I work for, because it truly is an honor to work for Denise O'Leary and Kent Thierry. And I could tell you 100 stories about the things they've done for the community, the sacrifices they've made. But as most are probably aware, they worked incredibly hard in their professional lives. And they are now working incredibly hard, just as hard, to give away the wealth that they accumulated, because they want to better the community, and they're going to give away all but a small fraction of it. They're not trying to create multi-generational wealth. They want Colorado, the nation, to be a better place. So they're investing in conservation, the environment, education, and something that we all share dearly, preserving our democracy. So if you would, they couldn't be here tonight. They're on a much-deserved vacation, but thank you, Kent and Denise, for what you do for the community. And then thank you to the League. Again, so many stories of how the League has partnered with us for years and years and years, I think a decade now at this point. So many battles that we've been in, opening primaries, independent redistricting commissions, many that we've won, some that we've lost. 2024, open primaries we weren't able to bring to our state. But truly, truly appreciate the partnership of the League, the leadership of the League, the fight within the League, the community that you are. Beth, thank you. Irene, thank you. Andrea, thank you. I didn't see Tony, but Tony, thank you. Oh, Tony, there you are. So thank you so much. And one of those 84 bills that we had success on, and I say we because under the leadership of Dr. Amy Spicer and in the coalition of Courageous Colorado, and my good friend Amber will be speaking here next, we were able to pass a bill that was simple, but unfortunately necessary, to legislate that our ballot titles be written in a way that voters can actually understand them in plain language. And that was an incredible coalition victory. And also, there's more work to be done, because in the normal legislative process, we got a lot of what we wanted, but not everything that we wanted. And there's going to be an opportunity to take that statute and place it into the Constitution, so we have a constitutional right to understand what's on our ballots. And it seems like a very simple one for all of us, right? But it's not going to be, because the organization that filed this ballot initiative is one that a lot of us are used to fighting, not partnering with. And it's going to test our resolve to nonpartisanship for us all to work together on it, if we choose to. But for me, this is one that's very personal, because I'm an independent. I've always been an independent. But I grew up in Texas in a Republican family. And as my father aged, he became more moderate about his beliefs. He voted for Biden twice as a Republican. My mom, she hardened in her beliefs. She became more ardent, more Trumpian. So for me, when I think about partnering with folks that maybe we've fought with in the past, we've thought of as the other, I always try to remember that that person, they're not the opposition, they're not the other, they're family, they're neighbors, they're a brother, they're a sister, they're a dad. In my case, they're a mom. And so in my heart, I believe that the way to heal our democracy, and we're in a crisis. I think we would probably most, if not all, agree that we are facing a true crisis in our democracy. The way to healing is not through or in spite of or by defeating the other side. It's with the people that we have thought of as opponents. That's the way forward. The way forward is in partnership. We can't just wish away the other half of the country. I would never want to wish away the political beliefs of my mother. So we have a small opportunity, in a very small way, in this ballot initiative that's in front of us, to make this a constitutional right to be able to understand our ballots, to enact that, to work on that together with partners that we might not normally be partners with. And I'm excited about that opportunity because it might grow into something larger for all of us. So thank you very much for all the work that you do. Thank you for letting me have a little bit of time to bore you tonight. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. You didn't bore us. You talked about your mother. We're all about mothers around here. We get you. We do appreciate the partnership. We appreciate what the foundation does for Colorado and American democracy. So I think we're on the same train together. So thank you very much. Now I'd like to introduce another sponsor. It's Courageous Colorado. I know. Woohoo! Courageous Colorado. We were introduced to Courageous Colorado and its founder, Landon Mascarenhas. I can never say his name right. Mascarenhas. Come on, say it out loud, somebody. Thank you, see? There. And we love Landon, and it's terrible that I butcher his name the way I do. But we do love Landon. We have met him actually through the Thierry O'Leary Foundation, right? That's how we had that introduction. And boy, though, has Courageous Colorado taken the state by storm, right? I think everybody, all the leaguers, we all know about Courageous Colorado. We're all part of that. So they are working to blend grassroots wisdom, national best practices, and statewide leadership to create a roadmap for change that's both grounded and ambitious. Representing tonight is the Honorable Amber McReynolds. Right? We're all like this. We're all like this for you, Amber. You know that. A star in the elections arena and chair of the Courageous Colorado Board. Amber's background is the architect of Colorado's vote by mail system. Come on, guys, right? And by the way, isn't Colorado the gold standard in that, right? So, and her current service as chair is the Board of Governors of the United States Postal Service. This makes you extraordinarily qualified to guide this organization towards its goal in transforming the state's political landscape by 2030. That's a short roadmap. You got a lot of work to do there, Amber. Amber, welcome, and thank you for being there. We're so impressed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Irene. Thank you, Irene, and it's, gosh, such an honor to be here with the League. I actually just gave a keynote address to the Denver League not too long ago, and so just amazing to be with so many friends in the room and be here to celebrate the incredible work of the League of Women Voters across Colorado and all the chapters and everybody who is such a big part of the ways that the League supports community. My remarks are pretty simply about courage tonight, and I'll start with a little bit of history. It took courage for the suffragettes to pursue equality and fight for women's right to vote, and also for our dignity in what was supposed to be our representative democracy along with everyone. We had to convince men in Colorado to vote for that right as the first state to pass it on a ballot, and men had to be convinced to support this because women couldn't vote at the time. Colorado passed suffrage 20 plus years in advance of the 19th Amendment being ratified. It took courage for the young men and women that fought for civil rights and a young John Lewis or a young Martin Luther King. It took courage for Amelia Earhart to be one of the first to fly mail across the United States. So she was one of the first pilots hired by the United States Postal Service, and her flights actually led to what is now commercial airlines and the whole process of flying across the country. It took courage for a young Gail and Judy to create the Women's Bank of Denver, as it was a radical idea at the time. It took courage for so many women and visionaries to imagine a new idea or a new way of doing business or serving in government. Just like it took courage for the incredible women who have led efforts to modernize and reimagine Colorado's voting access system over 13 years ago now. And Irene was very kind to say that I'm the architect, but it was actually a very long list of women, which I'm actually going to name by first names because I think it's so important to celebrate the incredible people who were at the table, who were involved, who dug in and created the most, still to this day, the most transformational voting model that has ever been designed in the entire country, and one that many other states have followed, from Utah to California to Hawaii to Alaska to others. So I'm going to say these names because I think it's, they never asked to be named, they never asked to be recognized, but all of them played a significant role, and all of them are still playing a significant role today in a variety of ways with courage and tenacity in how they help democracy. None have taken credit for this alone. And I think that that's so important and such a distinction versus so many other things that we see a lot of, especially in politics, a lot of it's about ego and who did what when, and it, you know what, it's never I. I don't know of many things that have happened in an extraordinary way or that have benefited all of a community that have been about one person. It's never about one person. It's about community, and it's about a number of people with lots of creative ideas and lots of people that come to the table. So here's my list. Thank you to Tiffany, Sheila, Pam, Hillary, Jessie, Teek, Jenny, Elena, Martha, Amber, Dickie Lee, Carol, Jan, and even a lovely man named Dan. And that's Dan Pabon because he was the sponsor of the legislation. And there were others, like that was the core group, and all cross-partisan. So all those people I mentioned, they're not one party or another. All of them are not elected. They come from all different places. And there were others, but this was the core. And I always want to ensure that they're recognized for their impact, their collaborative work, and what has not only impacted Colorado, but has now become a truly revolutionary impact across the entire country. And perhaps someday they can all be recognized for this incredible accomplishment that is the envy of the nation. And it was courageous then, and most, if not all of these women are still leading courageously today in various ways. So it was truly an exceptional process and transformational. Now, one of the initiatives that's near and dear to my heart is Courageous Colorado. So this is one of the ways that I have remain committed. Irene mentioned one of the other big jobs I have, which is being chair of the United States Postal Service, which I'm not going to talk about now, but at some point I'm happy to answer questions about that. But one of the initiatives near and dear to my heart is Courageous Colorado, which is a cross-partisan, issue-agnostic organization working to strengthen democracy and civic life and civic health across the state. We believe democracy works best when people are meaningfully included in shaping decisions, and that's why we focus on building relationships, supporting communities, and creating spaces where people can work across differences. Over the past year, we've engaged communities across Colorado, convened a growing coalition of civic organizations, including the League, which has been with us from the very beginning, and worked with partners in education, business, healthcare, and other sectors to explore how democracy impacts our everyday lives. We recently released a report examining what we call the Colorado Democracy Paradox. Colorado is a national leader in voter participation and election administration, yet many important decisions are still effectively made before most voters cast a ballot. We also just launched Democracy is Delicious, a statewide voter education campaign that uses a little humor to help Coloradans better understand our primary system and think about how election rules can shape participation, representation, and voter choice. So look for that. There's a number, and because the democracy is delicious, there's definitely ice cream involved. Finally, to further illustrate our important courage, how important courage is in the voting process, I want to share a note from a voter, which was included with her ballot while I was serving as Director of Elections in Denver in 2016. I've only shared this a few times, and one of the times I actually shared it with the League in Denver when I spoke there, and the response was overwhelming, and so I thought, you know, it'd really be good to come and share this today. In 2016, a few weeks before Election Day in 2016, one of my managers came to my office and said, "We received a note, and you'll definitely want to see it." At that time, and frankly over time, a lot of voters insert additional things beyond their ballot in their envelopes. Sometimes they're really nice notes, like thank you notes to the election judges. Sometimes they send in books of stamps because they write notes saying we want to contribute to helping other people with their postage. Sometimes people actually submit an actual ID. We've gotten passports before, and we mail everything back and we figure out who it is. And then sometimes there's not so nice notes. I will say that. I had a whole file dedicated to the not so nice notes. But this one, one of my managers that reports to me brought it up and he said, "You're really going to want to see this." So I keep it with me. I keep it in my notebook of ideas that I carry around as a reminder of why this work matters and why courage matters and why collaboration matters so deeply in democracy. This is what it looks like. And on it, it says, "My new secrecy sleeve," shh, with a smiley face. To honor my beloved mother, Gertrude, born 1902, and her sisters, Luella, Mildred, Connie, Wanda. Strong women, in their honor, I cast this vote on November 8th, 2016. Thank you, everybody, for your hard work. I appreciate each of you. So this is what she submitted, and her ballot was wrapped inside of it in 2016. And I think it's so illustrative of how important this process, our votes, and democracy is to all those that either didn't have it at one point or that have struggled to get it along the way. So with that, I deeply appreciate, admire the work of the League and Beth and the whole team. Courageous Colorado is deeply thankful to be in your world and in your orbit and have you as a partner, and we're delighted to be here and support your event tonight. Thank you.
She's very impressive, right? Yeah. Thank you, Amber, and thank you for Courageous Colorado partnership, et cetera. Okay. Now, I've got some more sponsors to announce, and if you're in the room, we'd just like you to stand, if that's okay. I'm going to start with a grateful thanks to Nancy Ulrich, LWV Denver. Nancy, Thank you very much for your donation, your service, everything about you, Nancy. Thank you. The League of Women Voters of Mesa County, represented by Vicki Mitchell and Dave Peck. Amazing volunteers and amazing people. Trinity Partners and Christy Doherty. I don't think Christy made it tonight. Ann Sutton of LWV Adams County and our Legislative Action Committee. Ann, I know I saw you earlier. The League of Women Voters of Colorado board member, Ann McGeehan. Ann, oh, stand up. You need to see Ann because we're going to get to see Ann later too. So, and Thalia Oster, our treasurer. Stand up there, Thalia. With her husband, Jeff. Both of you stand. Come on. I think a lot of you know them in the room because Jeff and Thalia have authored the Religious Freedom Study and Position, which is going to the National Convention, and yes, and hopefully getting voted on. So we're going to need all the positive karma in the room to get it voted on. I think if you are a leaguer, you have probably met Jeff because Jeff crossed the state, did Zoom meetings, went to local leagues and pitched the position, had lots of conversations, and I think it was one of the most meaningful dialogues we've had within the organization. We really appreciate both of you. Thank you so much, and oh, and thank you for your donation as well. This is a beautiful party. Look at the purple, I mean, everything about it, the venue, everything. Our programming and our groundwork wouldn't happen without our extraordinary staff. Thank you to Jane Dunk, our operations director. Jane never fails to show up and follow up, and does this with a gracious, positive attitude. Yes, leaguers, you all know that. If you've called Jane, you know that you always get a positive response. Thank you to Andrea Wilkins, our legislative liaison. Stand up, stand up. Thank you. Andrea, I always say, I don't know how she does her job. She calmly wrangles the Legislative Action Committee. Remember 40 members? Remember 40? 40 professionals that really know their stuff and have some pretty strong opinions. But wait, she also helps wrangle Colorado legislators. And on top of it, she shows up at our board meetings and helps us find common meaning. I really appreciate that because you do help us find our common meaning, and you take complicated legislative ideas and bring it to us so that we can understand and we can make the decision for what the league stands for. Really appreciate you for that. It has, okay, now Beth Hendricks. Sorry, Beth, you have to stand. You have to kind of come out of the dark. Come out of the dark. Beth is our executive director. I can't say enough about Beth. This is the part that kind of makes me cry. Her expertise, her leadership, and her relentless advocacy for the league, and most importantly, for the voters of Colorado. It has been a true privilege to work alongside her for the past 6 years on the Colorado board. And we simply could not do this work at this critically important time in our democracy without you. Thank you. And lastly, all the board members, please stand. And lastly, I would like to acknowledge LWVCO's Board of Directors for their care and thoughtful guidance, not to mention their valuable time and treasure. Thank you, board members, thank you. Okay. my last big thank you. Here we go. Before we get started, it's these two. I'd like to recognize one of last year's Leader of Democracy. We all know him. We all have just found a true new respect. Thank you, District Attorney Dan Rubenstein. Dan and your lovely wife, Stephanie, please stand up. We thank you for your work. You continue to promote justice and safety in the 21st Judicial District. We share your, here we go, ready? We share your disappointment in the governor's decision to commute the sentence of Tina Peters. But that's all we're going to say about that, because everybody in this room knows about that. We don't need to say any more. You did your job, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're here for the main event. For over a century, the League has stood on a simple yet radical premise that democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires active, fierce participation. It requires leaders who do not look for a broken system and ask for change, but who step up and build the very institutions that make a fair, representative democracy possible. Tonight, we are here to honor two women who embody that exact spirit. They didn't just break barriers, they built enduring frameworks to ensure that women who followed them would never face those barriers again. It is our distinct privilege to present the 2026 Leader of Democracy Award to two lifelong trailblazers. What a legacy to be called a trailblazer, right? Oh. That is Ambassador Gail Shetler and Judith B. Wagner. Our first honoree understood early on that you cannot truly have a voice in democracy if you do not have financial independence. In 1975, Judy Wagner looked at the financial sector that completely shut women out and did something unprecedented. She founded the first woman-owned investment firm in Colorado history, dedicated to teaching women how to build and control their own wealth. But she didn't stop there. Alongside Gail and a small group of organizers, she raised $2 million. Wait, in 1975, that was a lot of money. $2 million. The women and opened the Women's Bank of Denver in 1978. In an era where women made up 80% of the bank employees, but less than 3% of the management. Judy helped hire Colorado's first female bank president. She essentially forced the financial world to realize that women belonged in the boardroom, not just behind the teller counter. Our second honoree took the same unyielding determination into the halls of government. Ambassador Gail Shetler's career is a masterclass in public service. She served on the Douglas County Board of Education, led the state's Department of Personnel, and broke political barriers as Colorado's state treasurer and our second female lieutenant governor, before being tapped by President Clinton to represent our country as a United States ambassador. But Gail's commitment to democracy is perhaps best illustrated by what she did next. Next, guys, right? Okay. In 1998, after narrowly losing an historic race for governor by fewer than 8,000 votes, she didn't step back, she got to work. Gail and Judy realized that women candidates face an unequal playing field, particularly when it comes to campaign funding. So they joined forces to co-found Electing Women Denver in 2000. They built a powerhouse network that has since expanded nationwide into Electing Women Alliance, raising over $35 million to help elect pro-choice women to governor's mansions, to the U.S. Senate across the country. That is their legacy, transforming a narrow political loss into a multi-million-dollar national engine for representative democracy. Their vision has touched every corner of our state. We see it in Gail's global reach with the International Women's Forum. We see it in Judy's groundbreaking work co-founding the nation's first university-based Center for Women's Health Research at the University of Colorado. She's ensuring that medical science finally prioritizes women's unique health needs. The League of Women Voters believes that empowering voters and defending democracy requires relentless, visionary action. Gail Shetler and Judy Wagner have spent their entire lives giving women the financial power, the political backing, and the institutional support to stand up and be counted. Please join me in a warm, resounding applause for these two icons, Ambassador Gail Shetler and Judy Wagner. She just said? She said, oh, we can share that, Mike. We've been sharing everything for years. Oh, thank you for being here. And thank you for this conversation. We thought this is, we're going to hear from them separately just to do the whole speech thing, But really what we wanted to hear is sort of how you got here together. The Women's Bank of Denver was a radical idea. Right? Very. It was. Yes. Women controlling capital, women building economic power. What made you believe it was possible? And what did it take to make it real?
You start.
Okay.
It wouldn't have happened without Judy.
Well, it wouldn't have happened without Gail.
Judy was the key.
We could do this all night. Well, it was obvious to both of us that women had the power to manage their own assets, but they had been not given that power because of the hierarchy that existed in banking. And so it just made us pretty furious that we should not have first-class presenting. And so that was really the start of it. We thought it had to happen that women could actually manage their own money and prove that they could manage their own money. So that was the beginning.
Well, and then from there, we started programs to educate women within the bank, and pretty soon, it was really interesting, pretty soon all the other banks were doing programs to educate women about finances. We hired the first woman bank president really west of the Mississippi, and pretty soon other banks were starting to hire women because we had a lot of women who wanted to only bank at a bank where women were in charge. And I remember when, this was so long ago, when I got married, I had a credit card in my own name. And I went to, it was a store credit card, and I went to use that credit card, and my name had changed, and so they said I couldn't use that credit card. and that I had to have a credit card in my husband's name as opposed to my own name. And I was so angry, I was in tears, and I stood there and I cut up the credit card and I left everything that I'd bought there. And luckily, Judy came to my house one day after her dog had attacked my dog to apologize. And
That's another story.
that's another story. And she said to me, we're starting a women's bank. Would you like to be part of it? It'll only cost you $1,000. So I said yes, and that's how we got started 50 years ago.
And it was a perfect thing. We immediately saw that we could leverage each other's strengths. And I've always been a finance person, and Gail's always been the brains of our operation. And but we just had a great time, and we've been partners ever since.
Well, all right, this one's for you, Gail. All right. You were the first woman to serve as both Lieutenant Governor and Treasurer of Colorado. When you were breaking those barriers, were you thinking about the women who would come after you? Or were you just trying to do the job?
Oh, well, there wasn't any point in doing the job if I weren't thinking about women who would be, not just come after me, but just women generally, because I talked to my daughter and my daughter-in-law, and they don't have any idea what it was like for women in the 50s and 60s and even in the 70s, when women didn't have a whole lot of opportunity, and certainly very few women were in senior positions of authority. In fact, women didn't have much authority. So I always thought about women. And in some ways, when I was in college, it never occurred to me that a woman could have a career. Only that, you could be a teacher or a secretary or a nurse. And then when I was in graduate school, I had this professor who said to me, because I was getting a PhD, he said, it's okay for you to get a PhD because you're married, and nobody will ever hire you to teach. So it's a good thing you've got somebody to support you, because you will never be able to get a job. And you know what? Nobody did hire me to teach. So they were right. So thank goodness Judy came along, and I have to tell you all that I would not have had the career I have without Judy Wagner. The reason I ran for state treasurer, and this happens, women need to be asked a lot, but now we're sort of telling people to do things. But Judy came up to me in downtown Denver one day, and we were in the middle of an intersection, and she said, you have to run for state treasurer. And so I said, okay, if you'll be my finance chair, then I will do it. And so ever after that, whatever I did in politics, it was because Judy told me to do it.
Believe me, she's not that easy.
I have to follow up by asking, what did it feel like to walk into rooms where women hadn't walked into before? Did it impress upon you that?
Lonely.
Oh, lonely.
But I think people were also surprised. I think that was part of it, that lots of times people just didn't expect a woman to be the banker. They were not expecting to have a woman walk in and say, all right, here, sign here, and this is what you're going to have to do. I mean, that was a bit of a change, because it was easy for women after they got started at it. But at first, it was intimidating, because you go and see, I could just think of my husband. If I had walked into his office before I knew him, and just as a banking person, and said, please sign here, and he probably would have said, well, where's the guy?
Where's the guy? So you, on your side, you founded the Women's Health Research Center at a time when women's health was chronically understudied. What gap were you trying to fill at that point? Why were you going after those outcomes? What drove you to that?
Well, I guess it was a lot of personal experience. Every kind of doctor I'd ever seen was a male, and I really wanted to find a female when I had gotten married, and wanted to have a female tell me what was going on in my body. And I couldn't find anybody until, thank goodness, I met a wonderful woman out at the University of Colorado, And she said, listen, I can show you all the women that you want. And it went from there. She was a pioneer in starting women's health research at CU, and that program has been extremely successful. And I think women all, and men too, everyone wants to go to a doctor that they're familiar with and someone that they trust. But I think it's easier for women to trust women and probably men to trust men. For some reason, maybe it's something personal. But I think that was the reason that it was so exciting to have a women-run organization at CU.
I'm going to tell a couple stories. Please do. Well, when we were young, there were no women doctors, and so you, of course, only went to a man. I actually, Judy, think that men would trust women doctors, well, a lot too. But I remember when I was pregnant with my first child, and my doctor, my OB/GYN was, of course, a man because there weren't any women. And at one point he said to me, well, I've never had a baby, but I know exactly what it's like because I've delivered so many of them. Does any woman think that a man knows exactly what it's like to have a baby? So starting the women, the other piece of that, Pat Schroeder, I remember Pat Schroeder when she was in Congress. Remember all that? Yes, okay. So Pat Schroeder raised holy hell in Congress because breast cancer research was being only done on men. True, it's true. So what Judy did in starting the Center for Women's Health Research was the first time in this country that there was a focus on research on women for women's diseases.
Between the two of you, you've built institutions. You've built a political pipeline, a research center, 2 historic firsts in state government. Why institutions? What led you to believe that instead of just doing the on-the-ground work, you said, no, it has to be bigger? What got you there?
I think it's because we could see the leverage that understanding your own money really gave women. And so that was the most important thing, that people that couldn't manage their own money really lost so much power because somebody else was telling them what to do. And so that was the first thing that was critical. Women have to have their own checkbook. I think it was from my own mother who gave me that opinion because she had inherited some money, a small amount of money from her great aunt, and she went to the bank to deposit the money and started an account, and the banker said, well, where's your husband? He has to sign for this. And that just infuriated her. And so that was kind of the beginning, is to have women really want to manage their own funds, manage their own assets, and that once you get the taste of it, you want to keep it.
It makes me shudder. I think institutions are what are essential to keeping movement towards change, to keeping democracy functioning. If you don't have institutions, you're simply working on the ground, but somebody else can make the decisions for you, and somebody else can actually put an institution over you. And so an institution, I look at this country and our democracy. The reason we've been thriving for so long and the reason we're under so much threat right now is that institutions are what have maintained our democracy. It is an independent judiciary. It is the separation of powers. It is all of the civic institutions, like the League of Women Voters, that maintain our democracy. If we don't have those institutions, we're just working one at a time. And with the institutions, we're all pulling together and working together. I think it is the biggest difference between a successful democracy and a fledgling democracy where there aren't those institutions that are just essential to giving people an opportunity to make their own decisions and to lead the way in protecting democracy. And thank you for the League of Women Voters. Thank you, Irene, for what you've done, because without you, we would be in deeper trouble than we all already are.
Well, thank you. And thank you to all the leaguers. Well, young women in civic life today have much more access than you did, right? However, they're living in a more polarized environment. What hope do you give them in this environment? What do you say to them?
To young women, I always say, participate, show up, be part of what's going on. Do what you really are dreaming about. Do what you want to do. You can do it. And bring other women along with you. One of the things I say to every woman is never tear down another woman. You can disagree with her policies, but you don't tear her down as a person, because there are plenty of other people out there who will do it. So I want young women to feel like they have just inherently the power to do whatever it is they want to do, and to be a leader in whatever way they want to be. I want women to lead. I mean, I actually want women to run the world. I think it would be a much better place. But we have a very, very long way to go.
Well, I just second all that. You're right on, Gail.
So are there women that their shoulders that you stood on? Are there people that you want to acknowledge in legacy that got you to where you are today, that you'd like to say their name out loud? Or
Sure, I think one was Mary Roebling. You know, she was a very powerful and important part of our Women's Bank success. She was a granddaughter, I guess, of a banker originally, and then you might have heard of the Roebling Bridge in New York City. So she had a very strong influence on what the Women's Bank ended up doing. Mary was always saying, "You can do it, girls, you can do it." And I think that was an important role model for all of us. She was, you know, determined, and she always turned a positive attitude. If anybody was talking negatively, she just always made it positive, and I think that was a good influence for us.
Well, I think I agree with you. Mary Roebling was very influential to us because she was such a big part of starting the Women's Bank. So I look at people. I never thought that I could be in politics. It never occurred to me that women could be leaders, because I didn't see any women leaders. And then I started reading more about people like Eleanor Roosevelt, Barbara Jordan, women who had stepped out, and even with the approbation that they got, with the criticism that they got, they did what they thought was right, and they kept going, and they kept leading, and they fought against what was often, was then a totally white male establishment, for the rights of women, and for the rights of people of color, and for the rights of people who were not granted their equal place in society. And so I've always admired them and thought, well, if I could add just a tiny bit to what they did, that I would have lived a good life.
wow. You both are just lovely. I think we could just sit here for hours and listen to you tell stories of how you got to where you are today, and all the things that you've done. If you will just stay seated right there. We are going to, Beth, if you'll join me. Now it is our privilege to recognize both honorees formally to present the 2026 Leaders of Democracy Awards. Ambassador Gail Shetler and Judy Wagner were singled out as this year's Leaders of Democracy for their long-standing commitment to supporting and promoting women, financially, politically, and physically. Ambassador Gail Shetler. Please join us. We're pleased to present you this highly deserved award for your insight and commitment to Colorado and our women. Your commitment to Colorado's democracy is unwavering and inspiring. Oh. Next, Judy. You put your money where your mouth is to support women's health research, following your support of women's financial and political empowerment. Colorado women are better off because of you and your efforts, and the League thanks you. Yes, would either one of you like to say anything? Come on. We want,
Give me a microphone, I'll
look,
speak.
this group wants to hear from you, for sure.
Well, both Gail and I have hardly any trouble talking. And so I want you to come up after me. But Gail and I have really had a great partnership, and it's been one of those where we could help each other get through troubled times and could support each other when there are good times and celebrate. We both love a good party, and we love having family around us, and our wonderful families have been fantastic for us. But we mostly love having the opportunity to see women's growth. That has been the biggest benefit of our generation, I think, is to see our daughters and our granddaughters and our great-granddaughters really think they could do just anything they want. And that is a real celebration. So it's great to be here tonight to celebrate with you and thank all of you for this wonderful award. And Gail, your turn.
All right, very quickly, I will just introduce Betsy Wagner, Judy's daughter, who is carrying on the tradition. My husband, Dr. Donald Stevens, thank you for always being there for me. And thank you for this wonderful award. Thank you, League of Women Voters. Thank you for my old friends whom I have not seen, some of you for 30 years, for coming tonight. That was so thoughtful and so kind of you. So it is an honor to be here, and I greatly appreciate what the League of Women Voters does. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Ann McGeehan, and I'm very proud to continue to serve on the Board of Directors for the League of Women Voters of Colorado. When I was the state representative for House District 3, guess who I got to represent? Judy Wagner, who had a couple of fundraisers for me, one of which, oh wait, and this was a different fundraiser where she had Robert Redford there, and there was a picture of he and I from a different fundraiser that he signed, and he said, "Call me Bob." So for that, I thank Judy, as well as being very supportive of my time in the House. So I just want to say that the League of Women Voters, as Gail and Judy have pointed out, it's the ultimate training ground for activists and future leaders. In fact, Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "I've always found that the best workers in a political party frequently are graduates of the League of Women Voters." And she was absolutely right. Just a few minutes ago, maybe you'll remember back to this, that Irene shared some mind-blowing numbers. The Colorado League is essentially a $1.7 million powerhouse masquerading as a $450,000 nonprofit. And that's because we have incredible volunteers. We literally stretch every single dollar you donate into $4 of real world impact. And to keep that momentum going, we need your financial support. This is our biggest fundraiser of the year, and the upcoming midterm elections are around the corner. We're already on the ground, working with partners on election observation and scenario planning to protect your vote. And on top of that, we're gearing up to print and distribute, I think, our pretty famous nonpartisan voter guides to hundreds of thousands of Coloradans. We cannot do this crucial work without you. So let's kick off our paddle raiser without a paddle tonight. And so I'm going to go through a few variations. I think we have some great note takers who are going to see who raises their hands here. So we're going to start with a $5,000 donation. Who's going to lead the way to a $5,000? Mary Parker. Woo! Thank you so much. Do we have anybody else? Okay. Oh, Judy Wagner, thank you so much. Fabulous. Who can join us at $2,500? Anybody in for $2,500? Okay, well, let's go to $1,000. Who can join us at $1,000? We have $1,000. I can't see who it is in the back, but our nifty staff can. And anybody else in for $1,000? All right. Oh, thank you, my former neighbor. She did live like down the street, and there's still dogs at the house, I want you to know. Anyway, and how about 500? Do we have anybody? We've got 500, 500, 500, 500. Oh, we need some note takers here. Have we got, Beth, do we need hands still up for 500? We have some board members. We have some other folks. Beth, do you want me to get everybody to raise their hands again? Yes, please. 500. Here we are. We've got a great crowd at 500. Thank you all. Do we need it up again? Do we have everybody? Do we have everybody? How many names do you have, Beth? Do we have 9 hands raised? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, fabulous. Thank you so much. 250. Who do we have in for 250? We have 1, 2, 3. And Barb, I haven't even said hello. Have you got 3 for 250? And 100. How about 100? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do we have 6 or 7? You got it? Keep those hands up, please, until we've got Beth. You got it, Beth? All right. And then $50. How about $50? We got some 50-buckers here. Yay! Fabulous. All right. You got it? You got everybody? Okay. Well, with that, I say thank you, everyone, so much for your generosity. And I've said every single dollar tonight that you give tonight is stretched to the absolute hilt. And now I'm turning things back over to Beth. Thank you.
Thank you all. That was really exciting, and we might have just made budget. So, before we conclude, a huge thank you to our honorees, our sponsors, and our donors, and to each of you for being here tonight for supporting LWVCO. Special thanks again to Jane Dunk, Tennille Hartley Kelly of Tennille Hartley Events. Thank you, Tennille. History Colorado and Occasions Catering, thank you for using recyclable materials. El Seminario Dual Language Newspaper, our main media partner. Thank you, Chris and Karen. Our sponsors, the Theory O'Leary Foundation, Courageous Colorado, John and Irene Tynes, Nancy Ulrich, LWV of Mesa County, Capital Commons, our legislative tracking software, Ann Sutton, Trinity Partners, Ann McGeehan, Thalia and Jeff Oster, Bobby Heisterkamp, our trophy sponsor. Thank you, Bobby. Our in-kind donors, who are too numerous to list, our volunteers, Aubrey Tracy, Sky Shadle, Vida Lance Brown, Andrea Wilkins, and Morgan Dean Wilkins. But my biggest thanks go to Irene. I'm going to try to get through this. For 4 years, Irene has served as president of the League of Women Voters of Colorado, and I can say without hesitation that LWVCO is stronger, bolder, and more impactful because of her. She showed up for our members, for our chapters, and for Colorado voters with consistency and heart. But Irene has been more than a president to the organization. She has been a true partner to me. The kind of partner who challenged me to think bigger, who steadied me when things got hard, and who always kept the mission front and center. Irene, on behalf of everyone at LWVCO, thank you. 4 years of extraordinary service, a lifetime of gratitude, please. So our silent auction will close at 7:40. Oh, it's closed. Never mind. Sorry. If you're one of the winners, we will follow up with you. The wine pool, I believe, is still open. $20 for a bottle of wine, folks. You're walking out with a bottle. But this evening, it's not just a celebration, it's also a call to action. We hope when you leave here feeling inspired, energized, and ready to continue the work of protecting democracy together. And remember that every voter we register is adding to an electorate that some are trying to shrink. Every voter we educate is less likely to be manipulated by mis and disinformation and lies. And every voter we empower is more likely to stand up and make their voices heard. And that's what makes for a strong and resilient democracy. Thank you. We'll see you again next year.